Mrs. Olson, you're here for the signing of an agreement between the U.S. and Cyprus, and you also had some meetings. Please let me start this interview by asking you about the situation concerning Ukraine and the U.S. position on this. Of course, we have seen that your president and generally the U.S. administration has been dealing with this issue. How would you describe the situation and what the U.S. consider that is going to happen?
Sure. Well, thank you. Yes, I'm really excited to be here in Cyprus. I came for the signing of the Science and Technology Agreement between the U.S. and Cyprus last Friday, as you noted, which is an exciting advancement in our bilateral cooperation. I was very honored to be part of the signing ceremony at the Presidential Palace, including with exemplary Cypriot female scientists. It was quite an honor. Thank you for your question. Yes, as you know, the United States continues to reaffirm its unwavering support for Ukraine and for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders extending to its territorial waters. The situation, as you noted, is quite difficult, and we've consistently spoken of the two paths that Russia can choose: dialogue and diplomacy, or escalation and massive consequences. We are committed to the first path. We made clear that this path provides the only durable solution to the security concerns of the United States, our allies and partners, and Russia. However, if Russia chooses the second path, we are ready to impose severe costs, including financial sanctions and export controls that target key industries. We remain firm in our position, and I think you've heard this from my president and Secretary Blinken: nothing about Europe without Europe, and nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. You can see that in our actions. We have undertaken consistent and meaningful engagement with our allies and partners to ensure all of us are speaking with one voice. We've consulted with our Ukrainian partners, the EU, NATO, the G7, the OSCE, and with many others. Unfortunately, we continue to see signs of Russian escalation, including new forces arriving at the Ukrainian border. As we've said before, we are in a window when an invasion could begin at any time should Vladimir Putin decide to order it. We will not comment on the details of our intelligence information except to say it could begin at any time. As you likely saw, President Biden spoke with President Putin yesterday to make it clear that if Russia undertakes a further invasion of Ukraine, the United States, together with our allies and partners, will respond decisively and impose swift and severe costs on Russia. President Biden reiterated that a further Russian invasion of Ukraine would produce widespread human suffering and diminish Russia's standing. But he also communicated that there is a diplomatic path forward, but only if Russia is willing to seriously engage. We remain ready to engage in results-oriented diplomacy in full coordination with our allies and partners, but we are clear-eyed about the prospects of that given the steps Russia is taking on the ground in plain sight right before our eyes. The stakes of this are too high not to give Russia every chance to avoid an action that we believe would be catastrophic. Whatever happens next, the West is more united than it's been in years, and NATO has been strengthened. The alliance is more cohesive, more purposeful, and more dynamic than at any time in recent memory.
Okay, so now let me come to the Cyprus problem. We see now that there is a stalemate as regards the process forward. And which is the U.S. position on this, given the positions expressed by the Turkish side in favor of a two-state solution on the island? I mean, we have the UN Security Council resolutions about the base for a solution. Which is your perspective on this?
Sure. The United States strongly supports Cypriot-led UN-facilitated efforts to reunify the island as a bizonal, bi-communal federation with political equality for all Cypriots. We continue to engage Greek and Turkish Cypriot leaders to encourage them to engage in constructive dialogue with each other, to avoid actions that increase tensions, and to work with UN facilitators to find a resolution to this unacceptable situation. The United States urges all parties to demonstrate the necessary openness, flexibility, and willingness to compromise, to build trust and restart talks. Mutually agreeable confidence-building measures at this point can be a very important tool to improve bicommunal relations and lay the groundwork for return to negotiations. And we have seen how those efforts can benefit both sides with the electricity sharing across the buffer zone. So we continue, and we also continue to promote bizonal, bicommunal activities, especially for Cypriot youth, so that they can find common ground and build closer ties. I valued the opportunity as well during this visit to go to the lab on the Committee on Missing Persons and see the great work that they do and really appreciate the level of cooperation they achieve between the two communities. We helped, the U.S. helped facilitate a visit from technical experts earlier this year to work with the Committee on Missing Persons, and we're trying to find other ways to do that as well. I think we call on all sides, as I noted, to be open and flexible in finding confidence-building measures that help return to a path of dialogue.
Are there any concrete ways in which the U.S. could help this process of confidence-building measures, you think?
That's one of the things I'm exploring while I'm here. I think working with the Committee on Missing Persons is one way, but we'd like to do anything we can to help support conversation and measures that build trust to enable a return to settlement talks. So I hope during this visit, it's one of the things that I talked about with Foreign Minister Kassoulidis as well, because I think confidence-building measures at this point at all levels, from small all the way to ambitious, are really important.
On the other hand, we see that Turkey has, there have been some provocations from Turkey, both in Famagusta and at sea. And you know, I'm talking about all that is happening in the ghost town of Famagusta and in the exclusive economic zone of Cyprus. How do you comment on this? I mean, on one hand we have the confidence-building measures, but on the other side we see Turkey doing all these actions.
Well, we call on all sides, as I said, to engage in constructive conversation that is focused on finding a solution that allows the island to be reunited. We believe that the UN plays an absolutely essential role in this process, and we call on all sides to work within the framework of UN resolutions in resolving the problem. I think you mentioned at sea. I think the importance of decreasing tensions, of dialogue, of discussion are absolutely essential to stability in the Eastern Mediterranean. Part of the reason why I'm here is because that we believe strong bilateral relationships across all of the countries of the Eastern Mediterranean are help in creating stability in the region. And we will continue to do that and deepen those relationships.
So do you think that countries like the US have a role to play in, let's say, exerting some pressure on Turkey to avoid such moves, which may, you know, cause tension?
I think the United States and our allies and partners, particularly the European Union as well, have a role to play in helping the countries of the Eastern Mediterranean be able to talk with each other and bring down tensions. And that is the role that, in my position, I intend to play with all of the countries of the Eastern Mediterranean.
Okay. On the energy issues, we have seen the position of the US concerning the EastMed project, the EastMed pipeline. How do you think these could proceed? I mean, does the US favor this project or not?
The U.S. remains very engaged and supportive of energy interconnection within the Eastern Mediterranean. We believe that interconnectivity of energy infrastructure is important to the stability and to the future of not just energy sharing, but also security in the region. I think that you have seen from us that we believe that exports of electricity among the Eastern Mediterranean countries and onward to Europe are really the path of the future. And we support projects such as the Euro-Africa Interconnector, which connects Egypt to Cyprus and Greece, and the proposed Euro-Asia Interconnector to link Israel, Cyprus, and European electricity grids. Because such projects not only connect vital energy markets, but they also prepare the region for the clean energy transition. So at a time when energy security is more than ever a question of national security, we're committed to deepening our relationships and promoting these clean energy technologies. So I think what you see from us is, given the reality of the future of what energy looks like globally, a move towards projects that will enable the clean energy transition and connect energy markets in the region.
But what about the ISMED? I mean, do you think we have to abandon this project or not?
I think the United States has always said that we support projects in the Eastern Mediterranean that are commercially and technically feasible. And I think within that context, we see the electricity.
So it's a matter of sustainability, let's say, and feasibility.
Absolutely, absolutely. And looking at the future of the energy markets.
Okay.
I think if you look at when Europe is expected to peak on natural gas and the timeline of any gas pipeline, that those don't correspond. And what we don't want to see is essentially abandoned projects that don't fit the need of what future energy markets look like. And in our analysis, those are electricity interconnectors far beyond ambitious pipeline projects. So we believe that resources and technical work, feasibility work, are much better placed focusing on the electricity interconnectors.
So your position on ISMED has no political aspect, let's say?
No. It's really based on the Biden administration's dedication to moving towards clean energy, combating climate change, and the economic realities of what an energy market might look like 20 or 30 years from now, which is one that we all hope is much more focused on clean energy, renewables, and the trade of electricity.
Okay. And of course we have this 3+1 cooperation scheme between Cyprus, Greece, Israel, and the US. What do you think of this? I mean, how can it further be enhanced or developed?
Sure, we're strongly supportive of the 3+1 concept with Cyprus, Greece, and Israel. When Foreign Minister Kasselidis was in Washington and saw Secretary Blinken, Secretary Blinken again reaffirmed our support for the 3+1. That is also one of the things that I'm talking about during this visit, both here in Cyprus and also when I go on to Greece, and how we can do more within that framework at senior levels, but also at technical levels. There are many, within the 3+1 construct, there are many working groups, including one on energy infrastructure, which is an excellent place for us to talk about the future of what energy looks like in the Eastern Mediterranean. So we're very supportive of the 3+1. We look forward to doing more within that concept. And we look forward to a day when we can all travel far more easily, hopefully when pandemic numbers continue to decline, where we can do even more in person.
Okay. And you referred before to the agreement that was signed on Friday. In which other fields do you think that the bilateral cooperation between the US and Cyprus could further be developed? Which other fields are there?
Absolutely. I think really the sky is the limit. I think there are so many different areas in which we can deepen our relationship. I think we find ourselves now at a point where our relationship is stronger than perhaps it's ever been. And so we want to continue to build upon that and strengthen our relationship, whether it's cultural, economic. On the cultural side, we're very excited for the number of Cypriot students who are looking to study at US universities. More than $3 million in scholarships were given to Cypriot students to study in the United States. I think that's such an important foundation for our bilateral relationship. I think economics is another. I mean, we're very proud that two of our leading energy companies are involved in the energy industry in Cyprus. And I think we see even more opportunities for US companies to work together with Cypriot companies for investment and development. And that also fits into the science and technology work that we're supporting, because I really think tying those the infrastructure together on science and technology enables greater commercial cooperation as well. And then, of course, on the security side, we continue to look for opportunities to train together and strengthen our interoperability going forward.
So would you describe Cyprus as an important partner of the US in the region? Right?
I would. And I think that we are working together not just in the region, but also globally. And my visit to the island has only just strengthened my belief in that.